Welcome to another episode with yours truly, Vinay.
And I am Rupa Palmer.
We have a business episode on this occasion, not a personal one, not being married to you or, being
Best years of your life.
Best years of my life, baby. Just got to realise that. When I do, my life will change.
Oh, yeah, really?
No, so we have a topic, Rupa. Maybe give us a little breakdown.
Yeah, so, this is probably one of the first things I ever came to learn in business. And it was based on a book that was written by someone extremely successful, extremely famous, and sold the most amount of copies in multiple languages. You may or may not have heard of him. I'll let Vinay actually start the intro. But what I'm going to say to you is I came across this back in 2013. So it's been a good 13 years. And I have to say, once I understood it, it changed everything for me. And the most important thing is not the change externally, it's the change that takes place internally. And that's when you'll start to see things happening. So, yeah, I'll let you kick off.
So, Robert Kiyosaki is the author of a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you haven't read this book, it's a very thin book, first and foremost. And I'm sure we have it here. We must have it here. And unless we've loaned it out to somebody, not good advice, by the way, loaning it out to people. You never get it back. Yeah, you got to really pay for it. When you pay for it, you value it. So Robert Kiyosaki wrote a series of books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. And in this book, he talks about his life story growing up in Hawaii, where he's from originally. First of all, Robert Kiyosaki is a self-made multi-millionaire real estate giant. And he is somebody who writes about his experiences, and the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about him growing up, and he calls his biological dad his poor dad, his real dad. And his dad had a friend who he called uncle, but he called his uncle his rich dad. Not because, one was rich, one was poor, not poor in a sense, you didn't have no money or nothing. It was a way of thinking. And his rich dad gave him rich advice. And his biological dad gave him poor advice. And, he talks about basically his experiences. And then he proceeds to write about or maybe develop something called the Cashflow quadrants, commonly known as ESBI. Hopefully we can get that on screen for you. ESBI, it's the 4 quadrants. It's basically the 4 legal ways that we all earn money. Legal ways, by the way, just in case you're thinking. So we want to go through with that. And, like Rupert said as well, I came across it, over a decade ago. And, learning it or reading about it is one thing. Going over it again and again. I know because we used to have a presentation that we would do. My God, so many presentations we would do, especially in network marketing. Those of you who may be in the industry or have been in the industry, you do numerous presentations. And when you keep going over the ESBI, it starts to ingrain in your head. So learning about it or knowing about it is one thing. When you start to accept and digest that information, magic does start to happen.
So, shall I start with the first one?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Since I've been doing it longer than you. So, E, very simply, employee. Okay, that's the first quadrant. So, as Vinay was saying, it's the 4 legal ways that you make money. So, I'm going to start off with the first one. This is where 60% of the population fall in E. Not as much as it used to be. I believe that gap used to be a lot bigger. But now you've got 60% falling into the employee. And what are you doing as an employee? You are simply exchanging your time for money. Now, I remember when I originally started working, I'm not even going to say how many years ago, I can't even remember. But yes, I would get paid for the amount of hours that I was contracted to work, or how many hours I used to actually put in. You work 8 hours, you get paid 8. You work 10 hours, you get paid 10 hours. But as I got to the managerial position in my field, I realized that I was actually only contracted to working 40 hours a week. But as a manager, right, I have responsibility, I have to fulfill my duties. I was working about 60 hours a week. So in fact, I wasn't exchanging my time for money. I was giving so much more of my time for the money. So in hindsight, I was earning a lot less than I should have been. And now there's 0-hour contracts. Like there's no fixed time of even how many hours you get to work. So why are most of the world or most of the population employees? There's a very key word that I'm looking for here. That's security, right? Which I believe existed. We're talking a few decades ago, even longer. But if you think about it now, in today's day and age, there is no such thing as security in any job. Let's be real, right? Let's wake up and smell the coffee. Like jobs are being replaced by technology with innovation. You know, we are no longer living in the industrial ages where they needed manufacturing and labor and the physical manpower. We are now living in the information ages. So anything at any point can be replaced. And I think this has become more so obvious since COVID, right? Since people have realized actually things are being replaced. They're no longer having to even be at the place of work in order for them to earn money. So that word security, ask yourself truly and really, can you guarantee your job is going to be there next week, next month, next year, in the next 10 years? I'm sure a lot of you are going to say no. But then you go to the S. This is the next quadrant.
I mean,
anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as in the words of Earl Nightingale, you know, he says that people look for security in a job, and he goes, that's the last place you'll find it. He goes, security is in one place, and it always will be in one place, and that's within himself. That's self-confidence that you can do it. So employee, for me, is an example. It's like living on rent your whole life, and you're paying the rent to your landlord, and after whatever 25, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever, you give your keys back to the landlord, and the landlord turns around and says to you, thank you very much, you just paid off my mortgage. It literally, because you're building somebody else's business, and which is fine. Some people may be fine with that. I know when I was working for I worked for Marks and Spencer's, I've worked for different shops in my area, then eventually I started working for law firms. And, you know, I'm working 10 hours a day and getting paid for 10 hours, but then, you know, I'm building their business. I'm not building my dream, I'm building their dream, their business. And I think it was a great way to start, a great way to learn. But ultimately, you know, that's not the way I'd say, it's not the quickest or most easiest way to the word, you know, financial freedom. You know, you're going to have to keep going to work because in order to get the money, because that's going to obviously match your outgoing. You have incoming, and you've got your outgoing, and you need to, you know, we live what we call, what Robert Kiyosaki says, paycheck to paycheck. So some people get a bit adventurous and say, you know what, I don't want to build anyone else's business. I don't want to work 10, 12 hours a day. I want to build my own business. They come into the S quadrant. What does S stand for? Small businesses, specialist, or self-employed. Now, I transferred to there. Now, self-employed or small business is where you now are the business. You are the business operator, but not owner. We'll go into that later. You are the business operator. So what does that mean? For example, when I worked for a law firm, I was working and doing the hours contracted, whatever, 9 to 5. It was never 9 to 5, 9 to 7 or 8, whatever. Then I thought, you know what? If I just cut the employer out and I become the business, and then, you know, I had an agency as well, and I would then start to contract people, and it will be my own business. And you could do it with any field, by the way. You could become a self-employed Uber driver, taxi driver. You could have a self-employed business where you are providing IT services, or you could have your own corner shop. Indians have corner shops, or we used to have corner shops.
I had a wedding planning business, so don't look at me.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone with a corner shop.
So what happens then is eventually, not straight away maybe, in many cases not straight away, but eventually you start earning more money than an employee. But you are now not working 10, 12 hours. It's your business, remember? You're working 14, 16 hours. I know sometimes we've done 18 hours, only getting like 5, 6 hours sleep. Mentally, you're working 24 hours, especially if you're Indian. If you're Asian, you're working 24 hours. But this is your business. This is your baby. So now, yes, you are earning more money. I know when I was working for a law firm, you know, it was much less. I started earning 3 times more. I went over 6 figures as a small business owner or self-employed. I started earning over 6 figures, and I was like, wow, I've hit the lottery. The only thing was, I was getting a bit tired. Thank God I wasn't married then. I didn't have any kids. It was easier. And then when you get that responsibility, then it's things start to change. But 35% of the world are in that quadrant, the S quadrant. So 60% are an employee, 35% are in the small business specialist. You could be a specialist in different fields, heart surgeon. You specialize in a niche area, but you still are relying. You might be a personal trainer. You're still in that. You have to give those hours in order to get paid. So that's the S quadrant, and 95% of the world sit on this side, the E and S quadrant. Anything that I may have missed on that?
Yeah, so if you look at the split, right, 60% you've got employees, and then 35% of people are in the self-employed or specialist or small business. And I fell into both of these because I was working in my corporate job and I was working self-employed as a wedding planner, right, like an event manager. And I can honestly tell you, I have done 18 to 20 hours a day in this field. And I was tired. I was stressed. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't good, right? And this is what people say, actually, they would attach the very important word that you would attach to someone who's in the S quadrant is risk. And that is risk of your health. It's a risk of competition. There's a risk of inflation. There's interest rates. There's so many factors. You can't call in sick because, you don't feel like going into work. You can't necessarily go on holiday whenever you want, because if you're not there, then your business doesn't make money. So that's where 95% of the people fall. And honestly, before the ESBI, I thought there was only two ways of making money. Either you work for someone else or you work for yourself.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But there is a whole other world out there, which only 5% of the people fall, but they earn 95% of the wealth in the world.
Wow.
Like, that maths doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Right? So the next one is B, ESBI. Okay. So what is B? I mean, when I was asked the question, what is a big business? I was a little bit confused. Like, big business, small business, like, what is the actual answer? Like, what differentiates one from another? And if you think about these names I'm gonna throw out there, and you can throw a few names as well. Big businesses, Hilton Hotels, Starbucks, Apple, yeah.
Samsung.
Big businesses. The one that probably everyone in the world knows, it's this famous M. The Golden Arches, McDonald's. Vinay hates it because
Rupert
it's
loves
so
McDonald's.
unhealthy.
Rupert loves
I thought,
McDonald's.
let me start with you hate it, because I know you're going to say I love it.
No, I used to love it, but then we realised it's so unhealthy. Now I don't even
but
like
it's
it.
just-
Apart if it's a breakfast menu,
Breakfast is the best.
maybe.
Anyway, going off
Man, I
tangent.
feel like having breakfast now.
I'm so hungry.
Should we go there afterwards?
All right, anyway. So B, okay, McDonald's is one of the ones that everyone in the world can relate to, right? If you think about McDonald's as a business, they have got a very simple system. But the one thing that they have, right? Duplication. Think about any McDonald's you've been around the world, and I'm sure you guys have been to I've been to the one in India. I love it.
Yeah, vegetarian menu.
So many vegetarian options. I'm like, damn. And then you go to certain ones in Europe and it's like, what is vegetarian burger? Like, they have no idea what, there's no...
Could you not know what a veggie burger
So I'm
is?
like, okay, just give me the bun with the cheese and ketchup. And they're still confused. So the point is, the menu may differ from country to country, place to place, but it's the same system. Burgers, fries, shakes. They've created a system, which is very, very key. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, which you're going to be quite surprised. If, like me, I was very surprised. Where do you think most of McDonald's profit actually comes from? Because I was like, well, it's a food chain. It's a food company. Like, it's a food franchise. Of course, food. Burgers, fries, and shakes. Incorrect. Only 3% of their profit comes from their product. Burgers and fries. Only 3%. I was like, are you serious? Like, where does 97% of the profit come? Franchising, real estate. McDonald's owns all the property in the surrounding areas, so there cannot be a Burger King next door. They've eliminated all competition. And to buy a McDonald's franchise, it may cost you $500,000, $250,000, maybe in $1 million, depends on what area it is. But it's going to work because they've got a system which is duplicable. And that's the key thing about being a big business owner. When you physically don't have to be at your place of work in order for your business to run, you are a big business owner. See the CEO of McDonald's anywhere? Ronald McDonald? Is that even his name?
No.
I don't think so.
No. We watched The Founder recently. And
such a great movie.
if you haven't seen The Founder, it's about how McDonald's started and what happened with Mr. Ray Kroc and how he came in, and it talks about the real estate, how they own all the real estate, and that's where the money is. So absolutely right. I mean, a business which doesn't require you to be there is a big business. It's not actually money. Well, it's not ironic that the businesses that don't require you to be there are usually the ones that make the most amount of money, like insane amount of money, because there's a system in place. So the math is really easy. So in E quadrant employee, you're working 10, 12 hours a day. In small business quadrant, there's a good chance you're probably working 14, 16 hours a day. But in the big business owner quadrant, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say there's 10 McDonald's. Each have 10 different locations. 10 McDonald's, 10 staff members working 10 hours a day. 10 times 10 times 10, 1,000. The owner of McDonald's, the operator, has 1,000 hours in his one day. It's not a coincidence that the owner is a multi-time, financially free millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, because of that simple concept where he has got more hours in his day. But where the magic gets even better, or where it actually begins, is in the I quadrant, the investor. And just like Rupert said, people think McDonald's is about burgers and fries. No, that's just the front. The back end is the franchise and the real estate that they own. Whatever real estate they own, they lease it to the franchisee. So they're getting paid every way. Before anything happens, they're getting paid left, right, center on the rent. And then you have to buy from McDonald's. You have to go to the university. You can't go and buy your own product and you have to authorize. There's a system in place, but they are investors. This is where 1% of the world are. This is where your money works harder for you than you do for your money. Because the owners of big businesses, once they start to invest, then they go and do what they really want to do in life, which is probably play golf. And then they go into real estate, where Robert Kiyosaki is, and where McDonald's obviously are. And, in investments in many different things. You've got stocks and shares, you've got the Forex markets, you've got investment into different businesses. So I is the holy grail. And, what we're talking about here is the 4 ways to earn money. That divide, E and S, 95% on one side, and the 5% on one side, that divide, there's a big line in between. And the rich and elite want to keep that divide. They want to keep that divide in place. We need to find a way to go from the left to the right. That's what I believe.
Absolutely. And I remember when I first, saw the ESBI, when it was explained to me, there was a question that was asked to me. And this is what really hit the spot, right? It really just kind of switched me on and made me think, I need to make a change. And that question was, the guy was like, Rupa, where are you currently on this ESBI? Where do you fall? I said, I fall in the E and I fall in the S, both. He said, where do you want to be? No brainer. Of course, I want to be on the other side. I want to be on the B and the I. And then he asked me a question, doing what you're doing now, or what you have planned to do in the future, how long do you think it's going to take you to go from the E and the S over to the right side, system-centric, where you no longer have to be at your place of work and the money's working for you? And when he asked me that question, I had to answer it honestly. And this is what hit me, because my answer was, do you know what? Probably never. And that hurt. I remember that. And I was being honest with myself, because I thought, okay, well, who do I know in my life who is completely financially free? They're a CEO, they don't have to be at their place of work, money's working for them, they have multiple income streams, and their answer is no one. I mean, okay, there is Alan Sugar and there is Bob, there's all these people, but no one in my world, as per se, no one that I physically know personally. So I said, if I don't know anyone who has done it, what makes me think that I'm going to be the first to do it in 5, 10 or 15 years? It would have been very naive for me to even give that as an answer. So I gave a very honest answer. And I think that's where the shift happened for me. Right? You
I
agree?
think, similar as well. I realised that, wait a minute, I didn't even know this, number one. Number two is, if there's a way I can transition, and if there's a way I can be en route, I can find a way. I'm on the journey. Because, before we're not even on a journey. I wasn't on a journey. I was like, I didn't even know what journey I'm on. But now I know what journey we're on, that we're trying to transition to the other side.
Yeah.
And, we've had so many ups, downs, lefts, rights, and all kinds of things. And, it comes to a point where now, sometimes where we can do things in the S quadrant, small businesses, out of pleasure. I mean, I love, I was saying to Rupert, I'd love to become a personal trainer. Not for the money, because I just love, going through that mindset of the physical and the mental transformation and help people do that. I'd do that for free. You can stick me in the S quadrant. I won't charge any money. I'd have to charge money something because, otherwise people won't take it seriously. But even doing cases now, I love going to court. I love to be the lawyer. I love to, win people to my way of thinking, whether it's the prosecutor, whether it's the client, or whether it's the judge or the judges. So this is a really interesting concept. I really hope you take it on board, and I hope you buy the book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, ESBI. It's a thin book, and worst case, just YouTube ESBI in a nutshell, and it will tell you about it. And there's more things that we probably have missed out on it. But that is this episode. Anything to wrap up?
Well, I was just thinking, as you were speaking now, like, if you were to watch this and listen to this and say, well, where do I start? Or how do I find something where I can go from the, left side to the right side and make that shift? I would say there are 3 key things that you need to look for in any business opportunity, any venture, whatever you kind of feel you're passionate to go into or could learn. Number 1, geometric growth. Okay, find something that can become very small in the beginning, but can grow, geographically, can grow massive, exponentially, slowly. And we can go into that another time. So geometric growth, something that will create leverage, where you are not putting in all your hours and you're able to leverage more time, therefore getting more productivity. And the last thing is, very important thing, passive residual income. You want to find something that you do the work once and you keep reaping the rewards and the money keeps on coming in, and that's you creating a system. So consider these 3 key things.
Absolutely. As always, please like, subscribe and share, and do reach out to us if you have any questions, or if you are even looking for something that could get you there. There are some things that we're involved in, and we were happy to share them.
Yep. See you on the next episode, guys.